Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls Radio. I am your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, Patricia Kirkman, PK. How are you tonight?
I'm very well, thank you kindly for asking. It's a lovely day. At least we have sunshine this afternoon.
Well, praise God.
That's
I'm telling you what.
in the right direction.
I know. You've been freezing out there in Tucson, which is unusual. We've been freezing here in New England, which is not unusual, but we're tired of it. So it is what it is, as my friend says. So we have to deal. We just have to deal. But we've got a great show tonight because we have one of our very favorite guests, Laura Tempest Zakroff, is joining us tonight. She's got a great new book, and we are going to find out all about what's going on with a modern witch tonight. But first, what's going on with the numbers? And I hear about Mercury retrograde coming back, so let's hear about it.
Let me put it this way. Everybody I have been talking to, and I say everybody, and I'm not kidding, it's either something is not working right, something needs to be changed, or whatever. Well, we forget that when Mercury goes retrograde, this time it'll be the 5th of March, but we have a 2-week shadow period before it hits us. And sometimes the shadow period is equally as bad, if not worse than. And the reason I'm saying that, for those that were born in a retrograde, lucky you, because during a retrograde, that's your luck time. So you can just break all the rules you want to. It seems to work very well for those. Everybody else is going to take it in the backside, if you know what I mean.
Oh, no.
Well, think about it. And what makes it worse, I think it's worse, but it's retrograde is in Pisces. So illusions, delusions. And the other side, it's kind of like hold on to the seat of your pants, folks, because it's going to be a heck of a ride. That's why I just thought I'd mention it. And I think when we're watching the things going on in our governmental element and these little group talks that they're having in Washington, I think the retrograde's going to get them big time. So keep watching, folks. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were talking about this earlier, and it seems to me like a lot of the masks are coming down around people who have been talking all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't even want to get into it because it's so ridiculous, but some of the things they're proposing
are perverted.
It's insane. It's just weird, you know. It's like, what are you talking about? But the masks are coming off. You predicted, and you also saw the Smollett thing that was going to fall down around him because you knew it wasn't real, and you did tell me that. You didn't want to say it on the air, which I don't blame you because it gets so volatile, but at the same time you knew that this person was not telling the truth, and certainly that came out. Now there's going to be more, I think, so it'll be interesting to see.
Not a doubt in my mind. Within 2 months' time, we're all going to be going, what in the world, and how did that get here?
Yeah, I bet. Oh, goodness me. Well, yeah, I mean, we're still waiting for more and more disclosure, but I do see there's still soft disclosure going on with UFOs, more and more photographs, videos, and things like that. We have some on our Facebook page. We have 3 UFOs flying by the moon, and actually it was caught by NASA. So that's on the Facebook page. Everybody go take a look at that. It's pretty cool. We have all kinds of cool stories on the Facebook
people
page.
Forget
so
to check that page. Really, even if you don't get a chance to check it today, look at it throughout the week because we've got so many different things that are there and have been there for a while that you may have missed. So go back and check it out.
Oh, yeah. We always try to stay current. We post all the interesting stories we can find. We're always happy to do that because it is a paranormal world for us. That's where we like to be. So we like to share those stories with everybody. It's just so much fun. And, of course, if you want your own numerology reading, you know where to go, patriciakirkman.com. And also, PK can be found on the Supernatural Girls website. That's Supernatural Girls with a Z. And you can contact PK and set up your own private session. And PK also does classes. So don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm still doing and just having so much fun with the soul realignment work. Very powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Just another tool in my. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really enjoying it, and people are able to look at themselves in a very unique way with this work. So it goes deep, but it's fun to do, and it releases a lot of things that are in your way. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can find me at supernaturalgirls.com. Shoot me an email, and we can set up a time to talk. So now, let's see. We have got a couple of wild stories here on Paranormal News tonight. Oh, my goodness me. Now, there is a show, or there was a show, I should say, called Dark Skies. Now, I didn't remember the show, but my husband did. And he said, yeah, I remember that show. Well, they were talking about this today on Mysterious Universe. And the most interesting part of the article, and it's all on the Facebook page, the producers talked about this guy that just showed up on their set, and he was nicely dressed and young, but nobody recognized him. And he approached the producers and said, we've seen your pilot. But they found that strange because at that point, the pilot hadn't aired yet. So they're thinking, how in the world did this guy see it? So the man states, again, we've seen your pilot, and we think you got a lot right, but we want to help you with the rest. So the mystery man suggests to the producers that their show could benefit from inside information on UFOs and that he would provide them with this information. So anyways, they just couldn't believe what was happening, but they kept asking him, who are you? And he wouldn't really answer. He just said, that's not really important, but I work with people who have an interest in what you're doing and what you're putting out. So then, now this is the part that really I found kind of shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Grabs a napkin, all right, and he scrawls something on it. And the producer said it was a bunch of symbols and stuff. And the man hands the napkin to the producer, who asks him, what does this mean? And the man says, these are the secrets of the universe: sound, light, and frequency. So, of course, everybody wants to know, where is the napkin today? And unfortunately, the producer says, I haven't seen it in years. One of the other producers has it locked in a safe someplace. Well, we'd all like to see it. So anyways, take a look at this article and the adventures that happened with this show. It is quite amazing. Now, we also have another story in your neck of the woods. And that is ghosts. What did you think of that?
I was amazed. And not only amazed with that, but amazed at the fact that we had camels that had been used in the 1850s.
Yeah, who would have thought? Well, this is a very strange case, and they call it the Red Ghost of Arizona. And I think it is somehow linked to Geronimo, because they talk about Geronimo. Yeah, and that he and his warriors were kind of pissed off because of what had been happening to their people. So they left a path of destruction. But Geronimo, he was a very powerful shaman. He knew how to use portals. Remember, he would go from place to place, and they couldn't figure out how he would go from point A to point B, which was like all of a sudden, the blink of an eye, he would be 50 miles away. And it's that amazing. So this is how he did it, I think, through portals. Yeah. But when you open a portal, it doesn't mean it's going to close behind you. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. and anything can come through. So, my guess is this very bizarre red ghost of Arizona, which was very dangerous, by the way. This thing
nasty
killed
little guy.
Yeah, it killed people. Yeah. I think it might have been something that came through when the portal was open.
That's a possibility.
So, yeah, it's my guess. Anyways, who knows? But it's a very interesting story. You will see that also on the Supernatural Girls Facebook page. Make sure to follow us on Twitter also. We have Haley tonight who's helping us out once again with tweets, so make sure you are following us on Twitter. Okay, so now on to the best part of our show.
Yes, I can't wait.
I know, we love Laura. We have Laura Tempest Zakroff with us tonight, and she's talking about modern traditional witchcraft and how it's a path of self-discovery through experience. So how do you combine a traditional path with a contemporary life? She's here to show us how it's done. Now, Laura is a professional artist, a great author, and also a modern traditional witch. She's the author of a number of books, including The Witch's Cauldron, Sigil, Witchery, and her new book, which is called Weave the Liminal, Living Modern Traditional Witchcraft. So, Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's great to be here.
We love having you on the show. Absolutely. Now, your book is great. And as I said to you prior to us going live, I love reading your books because I get lost in your books. You really draw me in, and I know that's what you do with the entire audience. So you are a great writer. And you talked in the book, and I was so interested in the way that your whole path kind of unfolded. And you described it in a very right brain way, which I thought was cool. So share that, if you could, some of that with our audience of how you came to this path of being a witch.
It has been pretty much a quarter century of a journey now at this point. And essentially coming into this, coming from a basic traditional Abrahamic background, but actually, I guess not so traditional because my mother is a Sicilian, Italian, Catholic, and my father is a Russian Reformed Jew. So
wow,
good combination.
So like, oh yeah, it's traditional. No, wait, it's not. It's just how things were for me. And so we're actually a bit of an unconventional approach to things. I went to Catholic school, and pretty much right off the bat, I think it was in first grade, it was 6. We went to a field trip to the church as it was attached. And at some point, where they were talking about the altar and where things are done, and I decided I should be able to sidle right up there to the altar because I'd seen my brothers who were both altar boys up there, doing things. And they're like, well, no, girls can't be up there. This is, again, going back quite a while now. Now they're girl acolytes, right? And
right.
And I just remember being at 6 very, very upset by this. I'm like, well, I can't because I'm a girl, that I couldn't be a priest, that I couldn't be up here on the altar. I got sent to the principal's office. And that really kind of launched a journey of, really questioning what I was being presented with. I mean, it sounds silly at 6, but I just knew that there was something else in how things were supposed to be. And now, reflecting on being someone who helps guide other people on their path, regardless of gender, of sexuality, and for helping them to discover themselves. They're looking at their background and their modern life and how to make an effective practice for themselves. So first it was finding it for me, and then finding a way to help other people do the same.
Well, you have a great path mapped out in the book. But one of the things you talk about, and I'm very interested in this because I see this in lots of different groups, whether it be Bigfoot, the Bigfoot groups, or the UFO groups. There is sometimes a bit of nastiness, competition, or whatever you want to call it. My group's better than yours, or I know the truth, you don't. Do you see that also?
Yes, that's what I call the authenticity wars, and I don't think it's great. There's always new forms of it. I think every decade brings another another layer to it. But back in the 90s, it was like, oh, well, what is authentic? And you can't be an authentic witch unless your practice is, you're Scottish, so you're here, or you're Italian witch, or you're from this path, or this path is the oldest path, so it's the best path. It's like, not really. I mean, especially for those of us living in the United States who are the result of many different cultures merging together, you can't go back to some country and say, well, these are my roots. They're a part of your roots. And I think also when it comes to these people arguing about what is authentic or who's more right, it's about insecurity. And so not knowing exactly where you come from, and also trying a whole new system, like, all of these spiritual paths and New Age thinking and paranormal concepts, metaphysical ideas. We're not working from, a book, right? We come from, again, the Abrahamic background where you're like, here's the Bible. It says all the answers. Everything is in here, what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, supposedly, right? When you come into witchcraft or Jewry or any of these other spiritual paths that say, it's really up to you to decide what's going on here. It's up to you to consider your morals and your ethics and what is right in your practice. People feel a little uncomfortable because we have a society that has taught us not to trust ourselves, that our intuition is just, that's just a crazy thing, that's just a old wives' tale. Like, no, we have a sense of being connected to the world, and just because modern life in some ways has disconnected it from us, doesn't mean it doesn't work. And so I think that's where it's really people wanting to feel like they're powerful over other people and trying to fight their own insecurities is why there's so much infighting when it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it shouldn't, because it's all a journey to find yourself at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So when with your approach, I mean, it sounds like it's a very kind approach, a very loving approach, that there is also a lot of room for people to do all kinds of self-exploration without judgment, to find their own path. And that's what I took from all of your work, but also specifically this book. What made you want to write this book, Weave the Liminal?
I'd say that this is the book I wish I had when I was first starting out. I've been recommending for years Drawing Down the Moon by Margot Adler, which is a good exploration about modern neo-paganism, especially within the United States, and Doreen Valiente's Witchcraft for Tomorrow, which is a fantastic exploration of witchcraft and defining your own path. But Doreen's book was written in 1978, so it is now over 40 years old. It is a bit outdated in some of the ways of, how to relate to things, and a lot has changed in how we view witchcraft. The same thing with Drawing Down the Moon. It really hasn't been updated since 2000, so there's 2005 or 6, I think, was its last minor update. And
long time.
Yeah, it's been flying by. Like, it felt like, wasn't that just yesterday? Oh my God, it's 2019. How did we get here?
That's right. Yeah. Oh my God.
Surprise! And so, and when I was really formulating my path, in my mid-20s, I was trying to put these things down into a book, and I started writing this book. And it's kind of funny. The universe decided that wasn't a good time because it suffered a major hard drive failure, which also fried my motherboard, and it just wiped out the entire book. And
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Then I tried it again, and I think there was another hard drive failure. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a sign from the universe. And now I'm very thankful because I've had so much more lived life experience and have come to a better perspective on my path, and also in teaching and working with other people. So I'm really glad that book never happened back then. And this is what I can offer people now. And who knows what I'll say, in another 20 years, but I think I'm fairly much at peace at where this is. So this is sort of my gift to new practitioners, and also for a lot of folks who I've been really surprised is the people who have been practicing for 10, 20, 30 years have been picking up this book and said, this has renewed my path and my interest and put me back on where I want it to be. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing that from, these newbie little, baby witches or witchlets to folks who have been doing it a long time. that they are finding that compass that they needed, or they didn't even know that they needed to reorient themselves with their past.
Well, that's great, because you are bringing together the traditional world and the modern world, and I would imagine that it could be a little daunting for people. So how did you bring it together?
So I think it would be good to talk about the system that I have, which is called RITES, and that is RITES. And it starts with R is roots, and that is where you're coming from, what makes you up. And I tell people to start with not looking for a book on paganism that's like whatever culture, blah, blah, plus, witchcraft. I think go to, not only your roots, like where you think your family has come from, but also where you're living, and look at the folklore of the region. Whether that is Italy or Russia or South America or the Caribbean or New Jersey. And all of these areas have folklore that has been recorded for hundreds to possibly even thousands of years, depending on how old the civilization is. And when you look at the folklore and you look at the mythology, you're able to see the wisdom that has been passed from generation to generation. Myths aren't, do this exactly how it sounds. They are a way for the human psyche to grasp onto stories, morals, ethics, and protocols of dealing with ourselves, each other, God, spirits, the dead, the fae. All of these little secrets are woven into myth, and that's part of tradition. But tradition also isn't what's old. Tradition is something that we're creating every single day. So you might have a family tradition that you just started, a year or two ago, and it might be going down now 6 generations down the line. We're always innovating and revisiting things because it's what works for that time. That's what tradition is. It's the way to hold on and pass on ideas, but also to create a way of magical and effective living.
Well, and you talk about that in terms of food, which is very interesting. So you talked about, I believe it was your ex-mother-in-law who taught your ex-husband, how to make a particular dish, and how that was a part of their tradition. And it's so true, especially, Italians, my God, food is such a major part of life. It is life. So there's a great place to understand where traditions come from and how they get passed on. And yes, I did get hungry when I read that part in your book. Because all those things you talked about sounded very delicious. So, but that's a good place to understand what tradition is, and then how you have to adjust it for modern times. So there's benefits for both, and there's benefits to being in this world today where we have so much access to knowledge through the internet, and so much access to connection through the internet. So we're able to do a lot more that way than we could before. But I'm sure there are groups and witches who maybe shun that. I don't know. Is that a place where sometimes people witches do not want to get involved in that part of modern world with their traditions and want to keep it separate?
I think there are some, but witches are known for being very practical. It's like I would say the MacGyver approach, right? It's to take what you have around you and make it work. And we've been doing that for thousands of years, whether you use the word witch or not. So I think there are some traditions where this is the way it was done for, 40, 50 years, and this is the way we're continuing to do it. But I think it's always good to learn that. I think most of the traditions I've experienced where they're passing along lore and say this is how it's done, they're doing that to say this to learn this method and the seasoning behind it, right? I guess going back to food, like what are the flavors involved and how do you get here? And then once you've learned how to do it, once you've gotten to the level where you understand the material, then they say, oh, by the way, but you can also, add your own seasoning or change things up. Now that you know how to do it. And so I think some people just, barely get into understanding how a family, a tradition, a certain system of witchcraft might work, and like, oh, they're so closed-minded because they, in the first year of study, I could only do this. And it's like, well, if you just stuck around, perhaps you would have known that, 3-5 years down the line, there's so much more. But again, when you're learning something new, you don't hand somebody a sharp blade right away, right? You're like, okay, well, if you want to help prepare the dinner, you're going to wash the carrots first before I give you the peeler, or so they don't clog the sink, there's different kinds of protocols, and the same is true with witchcraft. So that making sure that people are safe, that they're sane, that they're understanding how things work. And so I think that most witches, if you put them to the test and ask about tradition and modern living, they're going to say it's a bit of both. So,
well, that's good. That makes sense, because somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago if I was a witch, and I said no, because I think it's too much work. And I'm serious, because you got to learn this stuff. It's like, but I do see that there's ways, like if you're mentioning and you're talking about, once you master the concepts, once you understand the workings of the natural world, then it becomes easier. And there are different kinds of witchcraft where you can use what's handy in your kitchen. You don't have to order exotic things that aren't local. So, I can understand how it can be more streamlined today.
Yes.
And that's nice. I like that. It makes a big difference, I think.
And I think that's really where it comes down to, making it authentic, is having the freedom and understanding that you know how it works, but you know that you have the freedom to change it. And because it is the authentic practice that works for you. And in the end, that's the only person you really need to worry about is, does it work for you? And
that's
I guess
right.
If you work in a group, does it work for your group?
Right. Well, now, and when you were growing up, I thought it was interesting that your family referred to you as the pagan. Now, was that done in a lighthearted way? Was it kind of a family joke, or how did they handle that with you?
I guess it depends on the day and what I was being called that. So, I definitely didn't like going to church especially after first grade, because I found it boring, and like, this is not, why is God only in this space? And so I was sort of a pill, and so I gave my mom a hard time. And I would go and visit my grandparents. Now, I think I gave my grandparents a little less trouble because they are actually part of the first Italian Catholic Church in Philadelphia, which they have two churches in the same spot. One upstairs church that is amazing with all these stained glass windows, and every surface is painted and covered in murals and these amazing saint statues. And then the lower, lesser church is all tiled and mosaic, and it's like they didn't, they're like, oh, it's just smaller, but we're still going to make it pretty. And so it had so many different things to look at. And if I was really bored, I could always just go through the rosary and look at the beads. But I would still have
funny
ideas where I would say things about, well, I don't think that's true. And so, we get it's a little heathen, a little pagan, well, she doesn't want to go to church again. And
oh boy.
So, I don't think they meant to be mean, but it definitely.
But you were brave. I mean, you were very brave to speak up like that. And then as I read further into your story in the book, you also talked about being in a marriage for a long time, and it wasn't working, but you ended up walking away from it. That takes a lot of guts. And you moved across the country and started your life in a different way. I mean, you're very courageous.
Oh, I think it just comes from a sense of.
You sound startled that you are.
Got to work out right.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you're an inspiration to a lot of women who want to explore a new path. And this is another reason why I recommend your book to especially women to read. So anybody who feels stuck in a particular life or lifestyle, there are options. And certainly you were not afraid to take on those choices and make different choices as the crossroads appeared to you. So it's a great read in terms of how you did things in your life. And you also started some magical circles in college when you were at the Rhode Island School of Design.
Yes.
That sounded like fun.
It really was a lot of fun because, it's like, okay, I'm here. And, I had met another witch, and then she moved back to California, and I'm like, well, now I feel like I'm here by myself, but there's got to be more witches around here. There's got to be more pagans. And so I went to the Office of Student Life. I'm like, I want to start a pagan society. You've got a Jewish society, and you have a Christian society, and you have this. And they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
That's amazing.
So I did, and people started showing up, and then it kept expanding because we really were the only pagan society in Providence. College age, first it was other college kids who wanted to join, and then there are people like, well, I'm not in college, but I really want to join, and it just kept expanding to a larger and larger group. And, it wasn't really, I didn't set out to create a large group. I just wanted to find other pagans and witches and witchy folk to get together and do the thing. And I think it's one of those, I have to say, I really love the movie Field of Dreams. I know it's based on a book, but I've watched that thing so many times since I was little, and it really does. If you build it, they will come. I firmly believe that, like, no matter where you are, I see people going, oh, there's no pagans in my area. There are pagans, there are witches, there are metaphysical folk everywhere. I've been all over this country, from Alabama, all the depths of Missouri, and, all the way through New England and weird parts of Washington. There are witches and pagans everywhere. And if you just put it out there to create an opening, you will find there are more. Now, what you get after that, no guarantee, but they will come.
Oh, but that's comforting. It's nice to know that people can find other people of like minds in witchcraft and working with witchcraft. So again, they don't have to be alone in it. And you found that out in college, which is great. Well, we're going to take a very short commercial break, and we're going to come back. And I want to talk to you about spellcraft also, because you go into that in depth in your book. So stay tuned, everybody. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back.
Pure essential oils, specialized minerals, and a revolutionary anti-aging technology. Astridian combines the best of all scientifically proven ingredients in easy-to-use creams, lotions, and concentrated serums. Astridian's advanced line of products take your skin to a new level of being healthy and beautiful. We offer a variety of collections that address all your skin concerns. The Essential Anti-Aging Series treats and moisturizes your skin for a long-lasting, younger look. The Multivitamin Series promotes healthy skin with high-quality vitamins and minerals. The Sports Series restores skin from cellular damage and stress. Astridian also offers a revitalizing solution for hair and a professional series for doctors and medical spas. Visit Astridian.com today and begin your new journey to healthy, beautiful, youthful skin. Astridian, beyond your expectations.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With Cosmic Fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.kosmicfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our terrific guest tonight, Laura Tempest Zakroff. She's the author of a new book called Weave the Liminal, Living Modern Traditional Witchcraft. So, Laura, let's talk about casting spells. You talk about it in your book, but our audience wants to know, well, how do you do this? Now, you talk about it as a formula. How does it work?
Oh, spells. That's the hard, everyone. Like, how do I do this? Well, first, I think an understanding spells is to look at what is magic, what is metaphysics, which, and some people would define as the art of changing consciousness in accordance with will, to focus your intent to have an effect on the world. And I look at witchcraft as a form of weaving, that if we are all part of a loom or a tapestry, then we are threads, and we can affect the threads that we are interacting with and that we're part of, whether that's other people or an environment. And so when we cast spells, there are many, many different kinds of spells out there. Most of the ones that people are familiar with are sympathetic magic, which means that there are correspondences that we believe affect the world around us. So if you burn a red candle and you see that red candle for love, you're like, oh, the color red for love. Yes, these things come together, and I'll decorate with rose petals because rose petals mean love. That is essentially all these things, whether it's the herbs or the colors or stones. Many of these things fascinate our right brain, and our right brain is where we visualize, right? It's how we we see the world. The left brain is very analytical and looking at the math and all the details, where the right brain sees the leaves and then into the forest and then the whole picture. And it's often how we manifest things. It's also in control of a lot of the emotional things that we have. So when you sit down to, write a spell out on a poem and a piece of paper and set it on fire, or you light that candle, or you mix those herbs together and you drink a special tea, you are taking these elements together that help, again, awaken that right brain and help you think about, this is really what I want. This is what I'm focusing my will on. The same thing with drawing sigils and magical properties. So what I recommend for folks is, not to just like, I'm going to, get a book of spells and I'll just pull anything out of that. You really need to think about what is it that you want in the world, because magic follows the path of least resistance. And that is not a new concept. That is something that, if you get back to that folklore I was mentioning earlier, so many stories, whether it's the 3 wishes from a genie or any of the Baba Yaga stories, is they be careful what you wish for because you might get it. And if you're too specific or not specific enough, you might run into trouble. And there's so many people who are like, I cast my first spell and then it worked too well. And then they don't touch another, try to do another spell for years and years after that because it scared them so much. And that's, I think it's taking the power out of yourself and realizing that we have so much power in our own lives to make changes. Whether you look at when you encounter somebody, in a cafe or walking down the street, and whether they smile at you or they look angry or whatever, you're picking up all these subliminal things, right? That's your right brain analyzing all of these things. And so when you come into your room and you're happy and it changes the mood for everybody else, that's, again, another wave. It's another vibration of the thread. So I think that's really a healthier way to look at spellcraft is, what are the changes I need? How do I affect them? And particularly, how do I make the necessary steps? And if it helps for you to light that candle so that you think about self-love, and in that self-love you draw more love to you. If in doing a prosperity spell while you're rewriting your resume so you get a new job, that helps you focus. These are all simple ways of doing magic. The power is not in the candle. It's not in all the objects, though some of them have energies that help. It's in you. So that's where I really recommend people start is think about you and what do you really need and what do you want. What is the difference between need and want, and actually what happens if you get it?
Well, it makes sense what you're saying. Point. Yeah, because, when you're using these magical objects, aren't you just using them to help you focus also? In our world of distraction, that candle, you look at that flame and you think about, what I want is to remove the blocks on my path or whatever. So that candle can help you to focus your conscious and unconscious mind. Because as you're talking about this, I'm agreeing with you with the right brain and we're just going to use that term, even though they say it's outdated, but the right brain does respond to pictures, to images, sound, light. So we're giving that to the right brain and saying, this is what I'm focusing on. You need to keep your focus there too. So it's interesting to see what can happen. But can you give us an idea of somebody you don't have to tell us their name, but they cast a spell and it happened and they went, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. I'm scared to death. Can you give us an example of somebody who did that and what they were asking for?
Oh, gosh, I feel like so many people have told me, especially with love spells, some people who think, this is exactly what I want. I want somebody who's looks like this, and they're really passionate, and and they kind of just stick on a few things instead of going, I also want somebody who's responsible and loyal and all the other, the things that are in a healthy relationship. And so then they found I got exactly what I wanted. I got, this person that was, 6 feet tall and had the Mediterranean features, and very suave and so romantic, and, gave me everything I wanted. I thought I wanted out of romance, but also had 6 other partners that I didn't know about. So things like that. Like you really gotta think about. Yes, especially when you're younger, you're like, oh, that's all I need, right? It just needs to be, tall, dark, handsome, and good looking. That's all I need, right? Like, no.
And a job, right?
Yeah.
Well, it is so much like the genie. Because in every show on television and in film, they talk about that. They show you how people screw themselves up with wishes until finally their last wish is, oh my God, just reverse everything I just asked for. So it just turns into a complete abject failure. So it does make sense, but aren't there ways around it, like saying I would like love in my life, but for the best of all concerned, or can you give a blanket statement like that keeps you out of these potholes?
Yes, and that's why you really want to put some actual thought into it. In crafting sigils, I tell folks to be like, okay, start with what is it that you want, and then brainstorm what is it that you want, so that you can get more specific or see where the loopholes or possible problems are. And so they're like, okay, really what I'm looking for is in love, that I'm looking for a partner who, supports me, who has, all these different things. And so you can just say, draw to me someone who has these qualities. And it might surprise you. It might not be what you think your idea, is, but you'll have the right person in your life. So it's the same thing with getting a house. It's better to look to work a spell that says I want something that's roughly in this neighborhood, in this price range, that has these qualities, rather than going I want that specific house, because maybe that specific house you think you want is really, it's got a bad foundation, or it's next to some really loud club, or what are these other things you're not quite seeing because you're so caught up with the idea of it. So you can pretty much put out to the universe and say, I would like this, or better, because the universe, just as we give it a journal, and you want to say God, spirits, or the animistic view of the world and the spirit that is the world, the universe, is they can see the pattern better than we can. So if we are in the web and we're in the tapestry and we're weaving, we can see immediately around us. And maybe we can see a little further down the line. But someone with a slightly further out perspective can see problems even further, or benefits and solutions. And you can even say that's part of ourselves that is, connected to the divine. We're stuck in the meat suits, right? So it kind of dampens how far we can see. But there's a part of us that is part of the divine in the universe. So maybe some part of us does see farther. And so we're like, hey, part of me that's not all stuck up in the sexy hotness of this person, or what I think will be, really sexually satisfying or monetarily satisfying for me. Help me pull in that thing that really will help my situation. And so appealing to that, it's not a saying to say, you can call it a god, goddess, angels, any of these things. But you just want to say, there's part of myself that knows something better. And so I can appeal to that. So you can work that in as well. It's just about finding that golden mean between, really over-focusing and then just being like, oh, I just want love. And so you get covered in puppies.
Sometimes the puppy's better.
I think so. I'm all for the puppies. So, here's a couple questions coming in from our listeners. And one is about protection spells, because in this day and age, I'm hearing from a lot of women who are in urban areas, and they really don't feel safe. So this question is about a protection spell. Like, is there a protection spell that people can learn to do to help them feel safer in their own environment?
That's a really good question. There are several very easy things to do. One is if you have a very simple piece of jewelry, whether that something meaningful to you that you can wear every day, whether that's something that's under your blouse, a ring, or a bracelet, like with the evil eye bracelet, something you can bless or consecrate to have protective energy, and so that you feel when you put that on every day that you think, this is something that is protecting me as I go out into the world. So you don't leave home without it. Another thing to do is using essential oils and drawing a little protective sigil on yourself or as you bless yourself. I love, once I get ready for the day after taking a bath or a shower, is I have a collection of oils, and I select the oil for the day, and I anoint my wrists, and I smell that fragrance, and I think about being present in my body, but it's also a layer of protection for whatever spirit, deity, or concept might be connected to that oil. So if those things are imperceptible, you don't have to have, a giant walking cross or pentacle on you to be protected, right? It's more the feeling that putting that thing on gives you a sense of putting on a layer of protection, putting that invisible oil on, right? Because once it's gone, you still might smell it during the day, but no one can see it. Unless you have allergies, then that's a bad idea.
Right. Now, is there a particular oil, Laura, that you would recommend for protection?
I really like the oils that Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab puts out. There are some really witchy folks who put together a huge selection of oils, all different kinds of themes, and they're really well mixed and using natural ingredients. And I like to collect it from in smaller people as well. Like when I go along and I find a maker at a craft fair who's got oils. So you could pick a specific scent that means something to you, because the power, the olfactory nerves, the power of smell and memory, right, if you put on something that reminds you of your grandfather who always was there to protect you, that cologne is going to be more important than me telling you, oh, well, you should put some patchouli or vervain on you. You know, if you don't like that smell, it's not going to have that same effect as, oh, but you still have some of your grandfather's cologne. So
isn't that interesting? Wow. I like that.
It's a peace of mind. But if you like things like patchouli amber, some people see that as being protective. The particular oils that I like from Bee Pal, Black Phoenix, I love, Baba Yaga is a spirit goddess that I work with a lot. So I love the smell of that oil. And a few of their other ones, they have a clip series. I like smoky kind of, I'm going to use heavy air quotes that you can't see here, masculine scents. I like those a lot. But then other people feel like roses are really protection. And if you see roses are having thorns, right, they're beautiful, but they're also, you pick them up. That's another way. So if you like the more floral scents, you don't have to, like, there's not just one oil that's like, this is the only oil you can use for protection. It's that mental effect that can really impact and have a positive effect on your brain. And there are people who have all different, like, astrological mixes that, you do it during this hour, and people who like the whole process of distilling it. That, too, is going to have an effect because you're involved in that process. So you can even, heck, if you're just like, olive oil, that's what Grandma had right there in the kitchen. Why not? You don't have to go out and spend anything else. I wouldn't recommend just plain old canola oil.
Well, you talk about things having a personal meaning, and that's so important. We've had Lon Duquette, I'm sure you know Lon, on the show many, many times, and he says the same thing. He said, no matter what you do with your work, it's got, if you want to work with objects, and then you must pick something that has meaning to you, because it's the only way it's going to work, is if it has meaning to you.
It's the key. Actually, I got to meet Lon at PantheaCon. I guess it's almost 2 weeks ago now. So we got to meet, and that's also where I lost my voice. So that's why I sound funny. Is that it's been a week and a half.
You're still struggling
with
it,
so it's okay.
Yeah, you sound good. Well, let's see. Now there's more questions coming in. Let me see if I can sort them out, because they're all about casting spells. So talked about protection spells. Now, of course, the next question, money spells. Tell us about money spells.
All right. So money. Everybody wants more money, right?
Everybody.
So I think it's breaking down of looking at your financial situation. Are you looking for a better job, right? Because money is many different things. It's home equity, it is savings, it is spending money, it's being able to have extra perks, it's being able to cover your bills, it's what brings money into your life. So there are many different ways of looking at it. So I first recommend people going, okay, well, what do you mean by money? Because sure, you can just say, okay, well, in the United States, money is somewhat green, and so you can take a green candle and anoint it with a money-drawing oil, and decorate it with some quarters and shiny things around it, like I'm drawing money in. And you can do that during the waxing moon, which is from the first crescent all the way up to the full moon, and just imagine that you're drawing in money. But I like a little more practical approach that's more specific. So if it's coming down to that your current job is not paying you enough and you're up for a promotion, then I will put your energy into making sure that you get that promotion and the money that you're looking for. And that can be done with a sigil, where you decide how much that money is and what those qualities are and what you need to have happen, which means maybe your supervisor needs to see you in a better light. Maybe your voice needs to be heard. Maybe you need to be more confident in your job. You just haven't felt comfortable enough. So finding out what is it that you need to tweak in order to get that result. So that's one way of looking at it. There's the herbal spells where you can, say, planting the money tree. And for some people, that's different kinds. There's specific kind of bamboo. It's not all bamboo, but there's different kinds of money-drawing bamboo that's in Chinese culture, right? So some people say that growing that or using the little money frogs working with Ganesh, right, to remove obstacles, right? Say, okay, you're supposed to get this inheritance, but there's all this legal hang-up about things that are going on or paperwork was lost. And so you might work with Ganesh to say, all right, help remove these obstacles so that this can come through, and also what you're going to offer Ganesh on the other side of that as well. There's so many different ways of doing that. So you can start simply with that little green candle, or you can get down to specific and really think about yourself and what you need to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of options here, which is nice. And you do have a book on Sigil Witchery that people can get to look for specific sigils and how to use them. So I wanted to let everybody know about that. Now, we have a listener who's here who looks like they may have a question for you, and this is area code 216. So let's find out if they've got a question for you tonight. Hi, you're on the air. What's your name?
Yes, hi. My name is Patricia, calling from Cleveland, Ohio.
Hi,
and I
What's your question?
I called back. I was just hearing from the last call. They must have asked about money, which I shall listen to the replay. Okay. Been dealing with dark night of the soul and coming out of a real difficult, emotional, psychic period. And narcissism from a person, and it's just starting over again for me.
Okay.
What is the best, most effective way? I've been looking at. I began to research. I guess witchcraft is coming under paganism umbrella. And it's a centered religion, for lack of a better word. I was researching that. I wasn't in my mind to become a witch. And, of course, we hear, there are the stereotypes, and then there's, what people have been writing and saying for years and years and years. But anyway, what is, for me, just to clear out this past life karmic relationship with this man, and who's a narcissist, and just being so psychically attacked since I relocated back here. But I'm working on and will be relocating in spring or summer this year to the Pacific Northwest, because the energy here is just so, for me, and I believe it is in the city, just so harmful and toxic and negative.
Well, you have some advice, Laura?
Yes, Patricia. Well, when you get out to here, the Pacific Northwest, welcome. And currently here in Seattle. So you got several different things going on, and what I recommend first is thinking about doing some cleansing to make sure that you feel like those ties are cut, that this person doesn't have a hold on you anymore. And so that can be, simply writing down these things, or taking some artifacts or photos and burning them and letting them be scattered. Just feeling like, or you can even take that, actually, this is what I'd say. I'd write up these things, your experiences of what you're letting go of, wrap it up with some thread, thinking about, I'm sealing this up, and this is a thread that did attach us, but now I'm going to set this on fire and release it. And let those ashes go, leave them far away from your home. And then I start working on healing as well as protecting yourself. And the thing is, when you're dealing with a narcissist, is they are really good at abusing your soul, your sense of self-worth, your emotional well-being. So being kind to yourself and giving yourself a positive affirmation, it might seem light, but really, we often talk to ourselves in such negative ways that we do a lot of harm to ourselves. So you got to start undoing that harm and saying, I'm worth it. I can do amazing things, and I'm going to make changes happen. So you can do that with different crystals. Folks like to hold a crystal, like a worry stone or something that you carry with you that you feel like you have a reminder that you are on a new path and a new journey. And it could be something like hematite, which is grounding, but also some people see it as repelling negativity. And so it can be a stone of protection. Quartz crystal, some people see that as cleansing. So I would recommend if you can go to, I think in your area there's a store called Goddess Elite. I'm pretty sure it's in the Cleveland area. And they have like an array of crystals and such. So I would say kind of go investigate and see what comes to you and pick one or two of those up and start carrying them with you. You can set up an altar as well. If you have a little altar or shrine, it doesn't have to be to a god or a goddess. It can just be to yourself as well as what you're bringing into your life. So you would see where you want to come here in the Pacific Northwest and put a picture of that or put a little map or the book of that and start putting together those elements that you're seeing coming into your future. So it's going to be a lot of work, but it's a lot of little things that you can do on a daily or weekly basis. Just kind of check in with yourself and just heal yourself.
All right.
Does that help, Patricia? I think that's some good advice.
Yes. Now she'll listen to the replay. Oh.
Yes, and we're going to keep sharing things here that may help you. So keep listening, and thank you so much for your call.
Thank you,
Patricia. Good luck.
You know, these narcissists, there seem to be a lot more of them out there today. And narcissism, my God. When I was a therapist, I used to say narcissists were the most dangerous people to be in a relationship with. They're so invasive and tough, and they get in on so many different levels. Don't you find that, Laura?
Yes, and I think it's not that there's more of them, but I think it's more that we're finally identifying it instead of people just ignoring and saying, oh, they're just an angry person, or, oh, well, they have these issues. Like, there are so many, decades and decades of, that's just how they are, and you just have to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
well,
good.
This
is not healthy behavior.
Yeah, no, it isn't, and the only way to deal with them is to get away from them in an intimate relationship like that. They become super dangerous. So, Patricia, you have our best wishes and many blessings to heal that and have a much better life with a better person for you. So, okay, so let's say we talked about money. What about love? What about drawing love in? And you mentioned a red candle, rose petals, things like that. And also that not to fixate so much on one person, but maybe to ask whoever's best for me on my path or something more general like that. Is that the best way to go?
Yeah. So love, it's a complicated thing, as we know. I used to do psychic readings professionally. I don't do it anymore because I just don't have the time, and there's other things I focus on. But I swear every other reading would be about love and somebody being in a relationship of, he says he's going to leave his wife for me. When's he going to do that? And
right.
It's like, oh, honey, he's getting all he wants. Nothing's going to change.
That's right.
So
they always forget if they cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you.
If they cheat with you, they'll cheat on you. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, sure.
Those behaviors don't change, and you'd be blind to things too. So I tend to, when people come at me with wanting to love things, I'm like, well, first, you've got to really love yourself. Because if you are putting yourself on hold for somebody else who isn't giving you the time and love and energy that you deserve, then you aren't loving yourself. And other people say, oh, no, the problem isn't just that, you have to be loved. But no, it really does start with just giving yourself at least the opening to say, I deserve love, and I want to find that within myself. And in that process, I'm not saying that nobody's perfect. And nobody gets to a spot where, oh, I'm instantly healed, and so now I'm ready for love. I mean, this is not really how the universe works. Everything is constantly in transformation and changing and growing. So it's simply a matter of opening the door to say first, I deserve love, and giving yourself that energy to be open to love is a fabulous start. And then once you are in a healthier state, then you start prioritizing what is really important. And you can draw those qualities to you in another person. There's also ways you can do love spells with somebody who you're like, okay, we are in a partnership, we're in this relationship, and we want to continue to strengthen it. And so there are different kinds of love spells that you can do where you're working together, and you say, well, we're either going to grow together or we're going to figure out this isn't going to work, which is always better than just being like, I'm trying to snare somebody. You just never want to.
Yeah.
People are not...
Yeah, you don't want to compel somebody like a vampire would to love you, because that's always going to backfire, right?
Yeah, and eventually you're going to wonder, like, well, maybe they don't really love me, and it's just taking a hold for yourself, and again, drawing something to you that you don't necessarily want. So, instead of being like, I want this specific person, then you think, well, what about this person or the idea of this person is exciting to you that makes you really feel good about your life? And sometimes, not everything is about being in a relationship. You just might want to have awesome sex. And so I would say, okay, then I want to be able to have these things for a certain amount of time, and I want to make sure that it's safe sex and that, it's still a healthy relationship. And so you can pull those things. It's like, what are you looking for? Are you going to be in, a polyamorous situation? And well, does that mean you need to be a better communicator? Because, well, just within two people, you need really good communication, and most people suck at that. So if you're going to have 3 or 4 people in there, you really got to be good at communicating and understanding your feelings and talking with each other. So that could be more about a communication and emotional well-being spell than it is about love.
Right. Now, here's an interesting question for you. Somebody wants to know, can you use spells to solve crime?
To solve a crime? Well, I wonder if they really mean to solve a crime or to get vengeance or to bring in justice.
Well, to find out, maybe, it could be any of the above, because there are a lot of crimes that certainly go unsolved, a lot of murders that go unsolved. And can you use spells to address these things, to find the truth?
Yes. So let's say you're dealing with an unsolved crime and you want to be able to have more energy put into it or reveal something, then you might work on a revelation spell or something that also is like, that the particular detective or agency that's working with it doesn't have enough people or time. Then that you give them extra resources, right? Helping to lend resources. For some people, it's working with spirits and being like, okay, well, this happened in this place. I know that these people or these entities also reside in this place. So you might do something to help get information or push clues forward that would help reveal that. So a spell can be done like that. And then on the other side, like say the more justice, you can just do a spell for justice. You can be doing with something where you want that, like say, vengeance, justice, balance, equality, whatever it is you're looking for, the right result comes through. There are saints, there are deities that you can work with, particularly to bring justice in. Even in the idea of justice. And going back to money, there's, Fortuna is a goddess in herself. So if you don't feel feel connected to some deity, you can also go into that archetype concept. So you can appeal to justice. You can have that picture of justice blind and say, please let this, the right outcome come through. Or whatever your desired outcome, you got to be cautious about that. I would tend to put to the universe the right outcome.
That's interesting. I'll tell you, this brings to mind a few years back, we did a show on the Oklahoma Girl Scout murders, which some of you may remember. It happened many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
There's a horrible crime. And the person who they suspected, who allegedly did this, was Native American. And I was really surprised to learn how many Native Americans were involved with witchcraft. And the person who allegedly did this actually was tried and was let go. And he had been doing all these spells all along. But at the end of the day, he was in prison for another crime that he was caught and convicted for. So he was serving a sentence. He was a young man, and there was a Native American shaman who did a spell. And the spell was that the person who committed this heinous crime to these poor 3 little girls would die.
Mm-hmm.
And this man who was accused of the crime but got off was jogging around the, I guess they had a little outdoor area for the prisoners. And all of a sudden, he dropped dead of a heart attack. So that was the end of this horrible story. But it was interesting how much this man used witchcraft to kind of shield himself. And yet at the end of the day, it was another person, a shaman, who called forth enough energy to identify the person who did it and then make him pay. So it was a fascinating story. It was so tragic, but it did give you a good feeling at the end. The person was wiped out, for what they did. But I was so curious to learn more about this in terms of Native Americans having this big connection with witchcraft. So it's not just a European thing, a white person thing, that they were very involved with it and still are.
It really comes down to the words, right? So most English-speaking folks we use witchcraft, we use magic. These are the terms we use. But working those threads, connecting with spirits, the other world, working our own human powers. I think every culture has a name for it, and every culture has a means of doing it. It might be really hidden and it might be underground. But the more a culture is connected to the land, connected to the spirits, and still hasn't let go of that sense of personal power, gut and intuition, and that these things actually work, the more effective it is. We, especially for most folks who are coming from European descent, we've kind of had that, beaten out. Unless you go to the Slavic regions where they're really just a generation back, they're like, nope, we're still pretty pagan. We're still doing all these, we're still doing all this stuff. You can put church over there, but we're still making some sacrifices over here.
Right.
It's that there's these layers of separation. But whether you are in South America or you're in Australia or you're in India, anywhere you go, you will find that there is some method or means, even if it's been hidden really well, of using metaphysics, of connecting those threads and trying to work them in some way. And I think that's part of the human psyche. So it is prevalent. It's just, what is the word that they use to call it? And the word I feel more comfortable with is calling it witchcraft. But mainly, result of a bunch of sort of Philadelphia, New Jersey accent.
Right. Well, in the book you talk, which is great again, the name of the book is Weave the Liminal, everybody's excellent. Now, when you talk in the book about being born into witchcraft, being born a witch and being a made witch, what's the difference? Tell us about that.
So, I think it's really started evolving. This actually goes back a long time, this idea of being born into magic or born into witchcraft. The idea of being a natural witch, right? And so some people say, I just came into it. Well, some people just don't have all those barriers that are set up within society or how they were raised, the things that haven't shut down. When you talk to children, right, young children who talk about their invisible friends or that they could see grandmom even though grandmom's passed away, and that they can see, this cat that's in the house but you don't have a cat. Young children are open to seeing things because we haven't shut down their imagination, what we're calling it for lack of a better word. And so I think all human beings have the potential to be in touch with the more magical side, and some are just been able to kind of slide through without being shut down in so many ways. So that's my opinion, but some people just want to say, I was born a witch, so therefore, I got this all down. Like, you still have to learn some things along the way. And then technically being made a witch, an initiation, and initiations come in many forms. That's through dedications. You begin initiated into a certain tradition. So if you wanted to be a Gardnerian Wiccan, you would have to find a Gardnerian coven. You'd have to study and be initiated into that group to call yourself Gardnerian or Alexandrian or the Temple of Witchcraft or whatever tradition it is. So if you're going to follow a particular practice that is a specific tradition, you have to kind of be initiated into that tradition. Even if you're born, like say your parents are both Gardnerian Wiccans, you're still in a process. Much like when you're Catholic, you have your confirmation, right? You have to learn your things about the faith. Same with Judaism, right? To have a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah, to become an adult in your religion, you have to study. You have to know the catechism. Right. So all of these things come at some point where you really do formatively and cognitively recognize where you are on your path. If you have some psychic intuitions, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a witch. It means you've got some psychic intuitions and that perhaps you probably can develop that ability more. And if you so wish, maybe you do feel comfortable with that label and you feel that's part of your identity, and so that can come to that. So that's the way I look at it. One is not better than the other. They're just different approaches to almost the same person.
Yeah, now, are there still people around, still witches around, where it's been passed down from generation to generation to generation, so somebody could still be in this world today, like a seventh generation witch? Because I think in a lot of cultures we have got so mishmash here, we've lost a lot of the oral traditions, and they haven't been passed down like they used to be. But are there still seventh generation witches and things like that?
I wouldn't say absolutely not. I think it's possible, and especially in more indigenous groups, like curandero, that might be something that's been passed down for a few generations that hasn't been burnt out by the church. So that's a possibility.
And with that, isn't curandero, it's more specific, isn't it, to the Spanish culture?
Yeah, so that's a type of healer, though. With popular culture right now, you might hear bruja, which is, kind of the same equivalent of witch, right? That it's sort of in your face. It has a negative connotation to it, but they're reclaiming the power of it. But, you hear people are like, well, my, great aunt supposedly was a witch in Salem. And it's like, yeah, maybe. There's a lot of stuff going on there. It could be. I do think that you tend to have certain perspectives that might be passed on. If you want to look at mitochondrial DNA, right? That if things, different, there's genetic imprints, there's emotional trauma, but also emotional gifts. It's like, all these things that can be passed along within the DNA. They're starting to do studies on that. So maybe you do come from a line of people where it's been, maybe grandma hit it, but great-grandma didn't. And you might be the next one who's starting to pick up on those things, and you find out that this was a thing that went down your family. And it is also entirely possible that even if you don't have someone alive to teach you those things, that you can receive information from ancestors or spirits. I look at the universe as sort of that there's no information that's ever truly lost. Anything that we're supposed to know has a great potential to come back again. It might take us a little while to figure it out, but there are many, particularly Mediterranean and Slavic traditions, where it's believed that if your great-grandma or your grandma couldn't teach you the thing, they might come back in your dreams and still teach you the thing, and you will wake up with this herbal recipe that you have no idea where it came from, but it works and it makes sense.
Oh, cool.
So, that it can happen through that. There's many ways of looking at it. But there's a lot of, in the current kind of pagan community, there's a bit of eye rolling where you really like, oh, grandma was a witch or great-grandma was a witch, because there were a whole lot of people who wanted to make themselves seem legitimate. And it was grandma already passed, so there was no way to pull anything, proof from it, right? Just because they wanted to seem more authentic. And that's where it comes back to that insecurity thing. It's like, grandma was probably a good Catholic. Maybe she taught you a thing or two about spells. If you told my grandma, was a witch, she'd be like, tell me to go to my room, also call me heathen. But, kind of a funny thing is Mary Grace Furrer has a book out on Italian folk magic, which felt so much like my family that I sent a copy to my mom, and my mom says, oh, my God, I remember, great aunt, blah, 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 still in the name, doing that and doing this thing. And I was like, yes, I remember these things too when I was little when I saw it. And so here's these things where these folkloric traditions and these practices of witchcraft and healing against the evil eye and curing, all these things, it's still there.
Yeah, now, it's so funny you mentioned that, the evil eye. I mean, I used to hear that from my mother about you need protection from the evil eye. Okay. How do you protect it? What is the evil eye, number one? And then how do you protect yourself from it, number two?
So the easiest way to define the evil eye, it tends to be a unintended glance, right? An unintended look that causes detrimental effects. And it could be caused by jealousy. It could be praising somebody and then drawing the attention of the spirits to that person. And generally, it also tends to be about issues of wealth, fertility, prosperity. One of my teachers called it all the fluids, right? So much things with the evil eye have to do with preserving manhood and fertility of females and of the cows and of the fields and all of these things. So it's a sort of often unintentional condition that gets passed on through want, jealousy, and so that the wording gets the evil eye, whether it's the little glass eyes that you see, or tassels, or the mano figo or mano cornuto, which are the different hand gestures, or the coral where you have the Italian horn. For example, my brothers had Italian horns, and what does that Italian horn look like, right? Like a little sperm or a little penis, if that's what they're there for. They're kind of to protect the manhood, right, to protect the virility. And so they deflect that eye so that the eye is met with another eye, that the spirits are confused, and so that they don't go, oh, somebody's having luck and prosperity, let's screw with that. So it can be passed on by people unintentionally, but I think there's plenty of cases too where it's put on intentionally. So you can argue with many a grandmom and aunt about that one.
That's interesting. I mean, it's a term that I've heard for so long, and you explained it very well. So thank you for that. I mean, there's so many ways to go as a contemporary witch, as a modern witch in the world, and I think your book is extremely helpful for anybody who's interested in this kind of thing. Now, is it really important at this point, if somebody's interested in witchcraft, to find a coven? Or is it equally okay to just study on your own?
I recommend starting to study on your own so you get a sense of what it is that you want. I do talk about looking at covens. I don't actually think that covens are the most natural organization for witches. I love working with other witches, but it's sort of where I like to call it convening, that we can come from our different paths and do a ritual together or do a spellcraft together and just basically share our experiences. So being able to communicate, talk, and share your experiences with like-minded people is really important, I think. But it doesn't mean you have to join a coven to do that.
Okay.
I really but I recommend that folks start to look. And what I started to mention about earlier with rites is they give you a really simple system to look at your roots, your inspiration, considering your time, which is your schedule, and how you look at the year, your lunar and solar year, to look at your environment, and to lastly look at what what I call your star, your guiding principles. And once you figure that out, then it's easier for you to find out if you really want to work with a group of other people and be initiated in tradition, to find a tradition that has similar views on ritual, magic, spellcraft, traditions, all these things coming together, rather than kind of blindly reaching out and be like, oh, look, it's a coven, I think I'll join it. So, I recommend finding yourself first, and then it's totally cool to check out and study. And most covens, if they're really valid, will be able to say, like, well, here's our open course so you can see what we're about, so that you can find out, are these people, a group that you feel you can work with? Do you like those folks? Or does it feel uncomfortable? If you're someone who's outside the gender binary and it's a very heteronormative priestess kind of thing, then you might not find that very comfortable. And there are plenty of traditions out there that break the gender binary, that are open to all kinds of sexualities, and many different traditions of backgrounds. And so there's a wealth of things out there, but I really recommend for people to start first. What is it that you're looking for, and what is it that you really want before you go running to join a coven?
Okay, well, that's good advice. And now, you offer classes yourself?
I teach workshops. So I do. I travel the country. I do festivals, and when I do book tours, I offer workshops wherever I'm at. At the moment, I'm kind of too busy either traveling or working on projects to offer classes online. But eventually, I'm going to get to that. There's a online group called the House of Twigs that I've signed up with. That eventually, at some point, maybe in the fall, I'll start doing classes online there as well.
Oh, that's terrific. And you also do readings, yes, for people?
I don't do tarot readings anymore for folks, at least not in a professional sense. So I don't do that. I will do, occasionally I'll design sigils for folks, and I do artwork, like devotional artwork for people, and different kinds of spells, spellcraft that's done through paintings. So that's kind of what I'm mainly offering when I have time, though we're probably not opening that back up until the summer because we're about to do some big changes here at the home front. So till I get settled again, so I come back from the UK.
Oh my! So you are overwhelmed, but as an artist, and you're really a good artist as well. I've seen some of your artwork; it's beautiful. If somebody wanted for you to design their own personal sigil, you'd be able to do that for them when you have time.
Yes.
Okay.
So if they go to if you go to my website, which is lauratempestzakroff.com, it'll get you to all the other websites. I have like 6, 7, 8 websites. So
oh my
kind of
God.
easier to go to the mother site and then go out from there.
Wow. That's a lot of websites. Yes, and again, the website you're sending people to now is Laura, Laura, Tempest, Tempest, Zakroff, Zakroff.com. And your book is available on Amazon, right? And
yes.
So people can get it there, or I'm sure some of the bookstores around town are also carrying it. And again, the name of the book is called Weave the Liminal, Living Modern Traditional Witchcraft. It's a wealth of information that you put into this book. I mean, honestly, Laura, it's great. And we're so happy to always have you back on the show because it's so much fun talking to you about all of these things. And we always learn so much from you. We think we've got it down, but not really. And we always have more to learn when you come on this show. And you've been doing this for so long. Now, what about, I'm going to ask you real quickly, dark witchcraft. And that what I'm talking about is not asking for something nicely for yourself, but doing something to get vengeance. What's your feeling about that?
So when it comes to, I don't look at magic as being black or white. It's really a matter of what are you willing to take responsibility for. And
good answer.
If you, it's, a lot of people think that they'll feel better if they hurt somebody because they were hurt themselves, and that just causes a cycle. I am all for justice. I'm all for stopping rapists and bigots and people who are, up to doing trouble. I'm not, and I often say, just stop them, right? Have the universe do what it is to stop them from hurting other people. I don't tell put the universe and say, oh, please do this. Specific
exactly.
acts.
Right. Well, that makes sense. So, Laura, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show with us again, everybody. The name of the book is Weave the Liminal. And, Laura, we can't wait to have you back again. Thank you so much. And we'll be back next week, everybody, with another show. We've got Graham Phillips and the Green Stone. He is our own Indiana Jones. He's going to be joining us next week. Until then, see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural Girls.